Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Brewers with at least a series win against the Boston Red Sox after taking the walk-off victory last night. Brewers didn't get their first run until the ninth when Sal Frelick tied it up with an RBI single at one apiece. And then in the 10th, Yeli up to bat, one out, bases loaded, and he gets his first career walk-off home run, and it ends up being a grand slam. Brewers getting the 5-1 victory to at least secure a series win, but have put themselves in a position to potentially sweep with Freddie Peralta on the mound last night. Or with Freddie Peralta on the mound for the series finale, So, but Christian Yelich, a guy that we have had as Brewers fans in our bullseye, right? Especially how the season has gone so far. We've looked at that. Wasn't that long ago where we were like, what is going on with Christian Yelich? Is there something still going on with the back? Is there just not the confidence there? He looks a little slow in his swing. You know, it wasn't just us. It was everybody. Everybody asking, what is going on with Christian Yelich right now? And it's like the light turned on, got a little chip on his shoulder, maybe hearing about it, reading about it, and something just clicked. And right now in his last 30 at-bats for Christian Yelich, he has hit 3 home runs. He is hitting .300. He is slugging .633. On base for .344. On base percentage still a little, below his career numbers and such. But we'll take these numbers any day of the week for Christian Yelich. And displaying some power. Displaying a little bit more power this year. Actually displaying more power at this point than he did last year. But he's up to 10 home runs so far on the season, 34 RBIs. He does have 10 stolen bases, too. So, he's already a 10-10 player. He's already hit that mark for the Crew this year. So, a couple more hits for him in that game last night against Boston. Remember, he didn't play in the game on Memorial Day and such. But, man, if this, I hope last night's outcome with the walk-off grand slam and such, and I don't want to put a whole lot of stock or I don't want to put a whole lot into just one game, but you hope a game like that or maybe even a series like this against Boston just kind of turns this thing around for the Brewers. They're now back to 500, and you kind of hope that maybe this is just something that gets the whole group going. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They're 7-3 in their last 10. And a lot of those games, too, been close ones, come from behind ones. Last night, the series finale against Pittsburgh and such. But you just hope that maybe like the dramatic outcome of last night's game is something that can just get this team, kind of in a rhythm and put together a nice winning streak or put together, just some really good games, especially with this incredibly difficult stretch coming up here for the Brewers. Something we've highlighted and talked about at length. And you just hope that this is something that can carry this team and something that can just, where everybody feeds off this. We talked about Ortiz hitting better, Durbin hitting better, Churio hitting better. Rhys Hoskins has been pretty darn consistent. And now Yelich is joining that group of guys that are hitting better, being more productive at the plate. And you just hope that it can all kind of come together and allow the Brewers or help the Brewers put together a nice winning streak or put together a nice stretch of games where, hey, maybe they're 8-2 in 10 games, 9-1 in 10 games, or win 15, 16 over the last 20 or something. We're at the end of May here. We still got time. And, you look at the National League. It is going to be tough to crack that playoff picture. Let's not kid ourselves. We thought at the beginning of the year it was the only way a team from the NL Central to make the playoffs was going to have to probably be winning the division. And that still may be the case. You look at the National League, I think there's a couple more teams in the National League that are maybe surprising some people. Like, okay, they're a little bit better than what we thought they were going to be. You throw in the Cardinals in there. think you throw the Giants in there, although I thought, my opinion, I thought Giants were going to be a little bit better. But, national sense, there was like, no. But you look at the NL West and how tough that division is. Now you throw in the Central. Even you throw the Reds in there, they're at 500. Phillies, Mets. We'll see if the Braves, after a slow start, continue to climb upwards. It's going to be tough. The National League is going to be tough. Any team that makes the postseason through the National League is going to have – they're going to earn it. But I think one thing, too, that we should all keep in mind, there's plenty of examples over the years of teams that get on that run. Whether it starts in July, maybe at the beginning of August. Look at the Mets last year. The Mets with their awful starts this season last year. And the run they made to get to the postseason and advance to the postseason, that's maybe just the latest example of, hey, don't give up too much or don't lose faith too much here in May or such. Still got plenty of time to make that run. It's just you want to make sure your team's in a good position to when they make that run, they haven't dug themselves into a really deep hole where, okay, you make a good run, it just still wasn't enough because that hole was so deep, it was so hard to climb out of. You came close, it was just that short. And that's what I want to see from this Brewers team. I want to see them, I want to see them above 500. I don't want to see them hovering around 500, but I want to see them continue to, put themselves in a position. So when we get to July, when we get to August, maybe they're just a couple games back. You hope at that point, ideally you're a couple games up and such. But at this point in time, managing these injuries, managing these slumps from some of these players that you were really counting on, you just want to make sure that, it's like that fighter. It's kind of like maybe like Rocky, a guy that's probably not going to knock you out in the first couple rounds, but he's going to go the distance with you, and then it's that final round, those final couple rounds is when he makes his move. You hope the Brewers are going to be that team this year that, they're managing these injuries that they've had to their pitchers, but also to some of their outfielders, right? Garrett Mitchell. Blake Perkins we haven't even seen yet, for crying out loud. And they've had to put Bowers and Collins in left field just to get through some of this stuff. Contreras is managing in a fractured finger that's affecting him. You just hope that they can put together what they're doing right now. And then when we get to that July, August benchmark, maybe after the All-Star break, then you go. Then you push forward. Then everything starts to click. You sneak into the postseason, you get into the postseason, and maybe you can make a little bit of a run here. But I hope this is that spark right now, what we're seeing here. Especially, I hope the Brewers use a game like they had last night. We've all anybody who's played, maybe we've all had that game where it's like, oh, okay, that was just maybe a little bit of the spark. We needed a dramatic win. Now we go. Got everybody going. Got everybody, some confidence back. Now we go. And I hope the Brewers use a game like last night to use that as a spark for this upcoming stretch of games. Because I still think, when we look at it, a series against Philly, a series against the Reds, the Padres, the Braves, the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Twins, you don't want to dig yourselves into such a deep hole where if you do get on that run in July or August, where it's just too deep for you to get out of. And I hope that the Brewers use this series or even last night's game as that spark to, okay, we're going to go through this gauntlet part of our schedule, and we're going to win some dang games. We're going to win a lot of games, and we're going to win some series here. We're not going to cower. We're not going to use our injuries as an excuse or anything like that. That's what we're hoping for. And that's what I want to see from this Brewers team. Is like, okay, we got that magical win last night. Now let's use it. Let's use it as that spark to go in this tough stretch and win some of these games. Win a lot of these games. By the time then when we get to July, we're a few games above 500. We've got some marquee wins. We've got guys that are back. We got guys that are healthy. Now we go. And then maybe when you get through this stretch run and you get to July, maybe you get some new reinforcements in the form of trade deadline acquisitions. And, Brewers are going to have some tough decisions coming up here, and Pat Murphy alluded to it a little bit, especially when it comes to their starting pitching. Jose Quintana is going to be back here soon. He had a rehab start last night. You got Brandon Woodruff, who's going to be coming back soon. And as Pat Murphy alluded to it last night, he's like, what do you do? Do you tell Woody you're not coming back? Do you tell Quintana you're not coming back? Or do you release somebody on the pitching staff when there's 2/3 of the season left to go and depth is needed? What do you do? And that's the question at hand. That's a big reason why Logan Henderson was sent down. I don't like the decision, but I understand it because that's how it's all played in baseball right now. You got guys who have options remaining. You want to keep them on your roster and such. But you're probably looking at a guy like Chad Patrick. Chad Patrick, who has been Mr. Consistent so far for the Brewers this year. Guy who's 2.97 ERA in 12 appearances, including 11 starts. What do you move him to the pen? Does he get set down? I mean, what do you do? Quinn Priester's only got one option remaining. I could see, if the Brewers get to July, even if they're still in contention, maybe they're out of it. Hopefully they're still in contention for a playoff spot. Either way, I could see the Brewers maybe saying, all right, we want depth at starters, but maybe we got a little too much depth. Maybe we could use a guy like an Aaron Savali, or if Nestor Cortez comes back after the All-Star break, using one of those guys as trade bait to maybe help bolster the offensive side of the team. But now in these coming days here, it's going to be interesting to follow what the Brewers actually do when it comes to their starting pitching staff. You got a lot of arms. Quintana's going to be a part of that rotation. Brandon Woodruff, when he comes back, is going to be part of that rotation. The odd man out is going to be guys like Chad Patrick. It was Logan Henderson. And it stinks because those two guys have been very good for this team. Really good. Far exceed expectations. We didn't expect them to be probably big-time contributors at this early part of the season, but they have been. And they've done a remarkable job so far. It's just the stinky part about baseball. But no question, I still feel like Logan Henderson and Chad Patrick are going to have or be vital parts of this team for the rest of the season, whether it's coming out of the pen or maybe making starts down the road later on and such. Because odds are, with 2/3 left of the season, there's still going to be more injuries to the starting pitching staff. And that's why you play the option game. So if there is that injury to a dude, you're going to call him up and put him back into that rotation. You just hope with, Patrick and Logan Henderson. I think this is the job as a manager. You're managing people. You're managing personalities. You got to keep that confidence. You got to tell these guys, hey, don't get down on yourself. Don't take it personal. You're still a big part of the organization. You're a big reason why we're in the spot where we're still keeping afloat. And we're going to need you. We're still going to need you. Don't take it personal. It's going to be hard not to take it personal, right? I mean, we're all human. They're human. But when that number's called again, we expect you to be ready. We expect you to be still pitching at a high level when you're called back up here. It's like Pat Murphy said he told Chad Patrick, quote, "You've been an incredible pitcher. Don't start thinking for us and don't start thinking for the front office. They know what they're doing. They've been through this before. Woodruff went through this. Corbin Burns went through this." That's the key now for these guys like a Henderson and Chad Patrick to not be hard on themselves, to not be disappointed. Use this maybe as a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, like, all right, I'm going to use this as like, I'm going to show you guys the next time I come back up that you shouldn't have done this. Or, use it in a positive way. It'll be hard initially. There'll be some frustration. There'll be some disappointment. But don't let it affect you in the pitching side, in your game side. Use it. Channel that energy to make you a better player. But that's going to be the challenge for Pat Murphy and his pitching staff, or his coaching staff, to making sure that when Logan Henderson's back and if Chad Patrick's the odd man out, that when their number's called again, because it will be, that they can pick up right where they left off or maybe even be a little bit better.